if you count for your kids, like I told you not to touch that, 1, 2, 3, you're basically telling them they don't have to obey until 3. Right. And so you're always going to count.
I want to talk about conflict resolution. And we've talked about that our kids will have conflict. And we've talked maybe a little bit about this, but I want to talk specifically about how to help our kids through conflict resolution, kind of through the various stages of life, because you're going to deal with conflict different with a toddler than you are with a middle schooler or, a preteen or a teen. It looks very different. So how did you help your kids to navigate through conflict resolution?
Well, let's just start with general. So I think with conflict, one of the important things is you really want to resolve the conflict immediately, as you want to get to it as soon as you can, if possible. So it is an important part of relationships. James 1:19, and I'm not sure if it goes 20, but everyone must be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. And that phrase was kind of, my kids got tired of hearing me say that. But if you're quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger, you're thinking, you're taking a step back from the situation, you're thinking about it, you're speaking slowly because you're thinking about it. You're not going to blurt out things that you don't mean, because the anger of man does not achieve righteousness. It's really an anger thing. And a lot of conflict breeds anger. And so we really want to think about that. So it's natural for our kids to be me focused. So let's start with the littles. Yeah. The little ones, they're kind of wired that way. That's, me. They're and God made them that way. They're learning. They're born in a sin nature. He didn't make them with, what I'm talking about. They're born with a sin nature, and God made them with an ability to learn slowly. They can't just catch it with one, instruction. So with the littles, we want to continually be on it and try to repeat and repeat and repeat and not let it go away. If they're constantly doing something, like, I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this with your kids, but there's that whole, they're getting ready to touch something. You don't want them touching it, like a breakable item or something that could hurt them, an outlet or something. And they touch it and you go, oh, no, we don't touch that. And they look at you and they go like they're staring at you and they're like, right. Do you really mean that? And if you let that go, if you laugh, because sometimes it's hilarious, right? You're telling them that's cute. They're being cute. Then keep doing it. So when we say something, we need to follow through. And it may mean that, and they're going to ask, they're going to think to themselves, can I touch this the next day? Can I touch this the day after that? And we have to continue to stay on it. It is exhausting, but it is so important to follow through. And I remember one of my children is a super strong-willed child, super strong-willed. The more kids you have, the more you're like, I have one of those. I have a strong, like, this is Saul of Tarsus, strong-willed child. Right. And I remember thinking to myself, if I don't do this now when he's little, like go and address whatever situation is, I'm going to have to do it when he's 13 and bigger than me. And that was my motivation of, this is the training time. This is the exhausting time, but it will benefit. So it's more repetition, more repeating what we're saying, what we're doing. We do not touch this. You don't touch your brother's toys. This is your brother's toys. This is your sister's toys. Or, toddlers are mine. We learn to share. We're going to learn to take turns. And, you're the younger one. Your brother's going to defer to you and let you have a turn right now. And then you're going to let your brother have a turn. So there's teaching them the process. They're learning. It's as if they know nothing, which they do. They know nothing. Right. And so our goal is to teach them. That's right. This is how we behave in our household. And there needs to be consequences if they're not doing that, whether they lose the toy, whether they go to time, whatever it is that you do in your household, there needs to be consequences. And again, developmentally, some kids are going to get it sooner than others. But, I'm talking starting in 1 year old and further to like 3 or 4, it's going to be constant and constant. 4 to 6, 7-ish even, that's when their will starts to come into play even stronger. They're going to exercise it. They're thinking more. And I tell you, if you're having a struggle with a child like that and they're constant, that means you've got a really smart kid. I mean, that makes it harder because they're able to think, oh, I can't touch this today, but maybe I can touch it tomorrow. I can't do it this way. Maybe I can do it that way. They're creative in their sin. And so it's repetitive. And you're going to have some kids, some of the older siblings, that little one's going to push their buttons more than others.
Oh, yeah.
Some it's just going to roll off their back and they're like, it's okay. He can have it. I don't care if he tore that up. I'll get another one. I can print a new one. The other one's like, this is my space. He invaded my space. She touched this. She did that. She screamed, and it just pushes their buttons. And so that's where the connection, you talk to the little one, you help the older one understand where the little one is, but the little one has got to have an understanding of this is how we do it. Very firm, not a lot of, and I don't want to hurt people's feelings. I don't want to, but if you count for your kids, like I told you not to touch that, 1, 2, 3, you're basically telling them they don't have to obey until 3. Right. And so you're always going to count. It's deferred obedience. And so if you want to count in public all the time and count in front of you're just know if you're going to do the counting, they will wait until you get to 3 before they finally, okay, I won't, because now's when the difficult's coming. And so really, really understand that our goal is obedience because it's for their good. We don't want them running out into the street. We don't want them, sticking their finger in an electrical socket. We don't want them tearing down our house. We don't want our house totally demolished. Granted, we've got kids with toys everywhere, but we don't want them just like doing whatever they want. If they're wanting to eat on the floor and dinner time, we eat at the table. We eat at the table at dinner time. This is what our family does. And they may cry through dinner time the first couple times, but eventually they're hungry. They're going to eat at the table. If that's what you're feeling, what you feel like your family is going to be doing. So that's my for the littles. Can we park there just for a second? Because I think there are a couple of things that are really important. One, you talked about the importance of training. And that is something I learned early on from Ginger Hubbard, actually, who has the book literally called Don't Make Me Count to 3. Yes, that's right. Yes, I know.
It's such a good book. We'll put a link to that in the show notes. But the training is so important because we often think with our kids, like, okay, we tell them, don't do this, or we get upset with them because they've treated their sibling in a certain way or because they haven't picked up their toys. But have we taught them the right way to do it? So we don't just discipline them and correct them for doing it the wrong way. We have to teach them the right way to do it. And as adults, we know the right way. So I think sometimes we just assume, well, they know the right thing to do. And we'll sometimes even ask our kids, why are you not doing the right thing? Well, perhaps you haven't taught them, especially in those really young years. They may not actually know. You assume that they know how to do the right thing. You assume that they know the right way to respond. So when my girls were little, I would often say to them, that is not how you're to respond to your sister. Here's how I want you to respond. Lacey, I'm sorry that I hurt your feelings. Will you please forgive me? You may play with my toy. And Brooklyn would have to repeat that to me, or Lacey would hit her sister and she would have to apologize. I'm sorry that I hit you, Brooklyn. Will you please forgive me? I won't hit you again. We have to give them the words to say, and we have to give them the actions that they need to do in order to make that situation the way that it should have been. And then we did a lot of do-overs with our kids too. Okay, we're going to replay that whole situation. And I want you to redo it. Yeah, I still sometimes, not very often, but there are still some times when I make my girls do a redo and say, okay, we're just going to start this all over. We're going to redo this because that was ridiculous the way you girls just responded. And at their ages now, they're 13 and 18, they know how to respond to each other. And so that's important. But the other thing is that we tell our girls all the time, sin causes pain, but obedience brings blessings. And when they're little, that pain is usually a physical pain, whether it's like, if you touch something hot, it's going to cause you, if mommy has said, don't touch the hot stove and you touch the hot stove, it's going to burn you and it's going to cause physical pain. But what that does is it teaches them that in the future, as they're adults and as they're growing up, their sin is going to cause a different kind of pain. It might not be burning your finger, but it's going to burn you as a person, as an adult. And it's going to cause a totally, sin always has consequences. And so, we tell them the things that they need to know because we are trying to protect them. And it's hard we can't say that to them when they're 3, but they need to understand that correlation eventually that their sin is causing them pain. And we don't want that for them. We want the best for them. And so, intentional parenting is so, so very important. Homeschool Insights is sponsored by CTC Math. If you're looking for a great online math program, visit ctcmath.com and try it for free. For more great homeschool inspiration and resources, listen to the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday.